So I've noticed quite a few people today claim that this week's episode of Steins Gate Zero is one of the best Steins Gate episodes to date, and I absolutely understand where people are coming from. This was an incredibly strong episode of the series. This episode, I figured something emotional would happen. I've been hearing a lot of people claim that this would impact us with the feels, but I wasn't sure which direction they would go with. Would it be more on the side of Okabe learning that Daru, his best friend, and Maho were working on the machine that he wants no one to tamper with? Or would it be something completely different that I wasn't expecting? But they actually hit us 2 times in this episode with really powerful moments. The idea of Mayuri overhearing the conversation with Okabe freaking out towards Daru about how this was the sacrifice that Kurusu decided with, this is the law of the world, if you tamper with anything, her sacrifice will be for nothing and Mayuri will die again. I think that's such an amazing move to go with because Okabe freaking out about the time leap machine, the idea that this microwave will be able to send D-mails back into the past again, which would alter the fabrics of their reality. I think it's just so important to have this revelation, because the idea of what they went for here is, I like how it slowly eats at the viewer. Mayuri wants to say something to Okabe. Mayuri knows Okabe is suffering. Okabe, he may be putting on a normal persona, he's acting like a normie as she would say, but this is not what Okabe wanted. This is the world line he settled for because he suffered so damn much, and he couldn't lose another person close to him. And what I love about this is how no one in this episode was completely right or wrong. Everyone had reasons to be mad, and also to try to work towards the goal that they settled for. Okabe settling on the Beta World line, Daru and Maho trying to build the machine. They weren't going to use it, but they needed to at least build it, because the time machine that Suzuha has, it can only go back 1 year, and it's getting closer to the date that Kurusu died, so once they passed that, they needed a way, at the very least, to be able to change world line. And I think it's so important because we know what Okabe suffered through, and his friends know what he suffers through. Obviously, they don't know exactly how he felt, only Okabe can know how he felt. Also the viewer, because we get to play God when we watch anime, we get the godlike perspective that we know how all the characters are feeling. But it's so important that Okabe does lash out, and it's so important that someone like Daru does punch Okabe, because just because he had a shitty experience doesn't mean he gets to take it out on someone else who's just trying to figure out what the hell they need to do. That being Maho. She lost someone very close to her. This is all she can really do right now. I think it's so important to have the scene where characters who normally wouldn't fight, characters who normally wouldn't lash out like Daru, do lash out, and everyone can kind of butt heads a little bit. Actually have everyone come into terms with what they're presented with. Okabe has settled with the idea that the law of the world, what Kurusu was willing to sacrifice, what this world is World War III will happen and Mayuri will live. He's not willing to tamper with that. And that is the law of this world line. That is what happens to this world line, and we know what happens to the Alphabet, but we also know Steins Gate exists. The other formula. The universe is full of infinite possibilities, and Maho understands this. Why do you have to settle? Why can't you work towards the ultimate goal? Mayuri lives, Kurusu lives, World War III doesn't happen. Even if you know that this world line is doomed to fail, why can't you help another world line continue and try again? This is so important because we're starting to see the steps be made that the old mad scientist is going to return. And I think that push was so important. The way they directed that rooftop scene between Maho as well as Okabe, it was so perfect because they didn't make it gloomy. They made it this very vibrant, colorful, and almost hopeful scene with the background really shining through. Okabe's trying to push the darkness towards Maho, but Maho's trying to push the light towards Okabe. And the idea that you don't have to settle, there are so many formulas, and Maho's here, and she's not willing to settle on a shitty formula, she's going to overcome it and find a new one to overcome the obstacle that's between them, and I think that was so amazing. The scene with Mayuri just crying and breaking down, because it would be different if Okabe wasn't suffering in this world line. If Okabe was truly happy with Mayuri being alive, Kurusu, the sacrifice was made, he accepts it, but he's not. He's the man who constantly suffers. Even though he settled for this world line, Mayuri has always recognized that this isn't who Okabe is. Okabe is someone who wants to play the mad scientist and tamper with just science in general, and wants to be with everyone. So the fact that she cries and breaks down, I think that was really the full push to push Okabe back into trying again. It's different. I think Okabe's been lying to himself this entire time, and the fact that Mayuri did finally confront him about this, I think it was so important. I also really like how Daru and Maho really mirrored Okabe and Kurusu from the original series. It was kind of interesting seeing them play around with banana after it came out of the oven there. It was just kind of nice to see a mirror, because we are in a different world line, so it makes sense that some things would stay the same, but it would be a little bit different. So I thought it was really nice and how Okabe kind of discovered what was going on. This episode really knew what it wanted to do. I think the idea of how it really hit the viewer a couple of times quite well, literally felt like a sucker punch coming in towards us, but they didn't go overboard, but they really sold us on how these characters were feeling, and the voice acting was so good. Daru's voice actor, absolutely stellar in this episode. Okabe's voice actor, absolutely stellar in this episode. I think the voice acting has always been pretty damn good in Steins Gate, but these types of episodes where it's really supposed to make you feel like these are people truly upset, they really go above and beyond, and they absolutely nailed it to a T, with the overall visuals really heightening the atmosphere and the mood of making you feeling uncomfortable with how things were presented, even though they did sprinkle in some sillier and more comedic moments when it was appropriate. Overall, this episode of Steins Gate Zero, I have zero fault with. This is what Steins Gate can be when it really nails everything to a T, and it absolutely did. But let me know what you're feeling down in that comment section below. What did you think of Mayuri crying, the punch to the face? Like, what did you think of this insane episode overall? Let me know what you're feeling down in that comment section below. And if you enjoyed the video, remember to leave a like, and if you're new, also be sure to subscribe. So until next time, everyone, please take care and have a good one.